Tonight, week 27, we are going to talk about Byron. Byron, the poet, Byron. And we are going to talk about Byron for a very simple reason. When I first did this class at Stanford, a very senior Stanford English professor came to me and said, "Oh, what are you teaching?" Blah, blah, blah. I said, such and such and such, Byron. And he said, "Oh, why would you bother with Byron? Nobody reads Byron anymore." Well, it broke my heart. I was all excited to teach Byron. And then I was told nobody reads Byron anymore. Well, let us hope people will read Byron because this figure we talk about here tonight in the next few hours is the perfect romantic. The perfect embodiment of romanticism. We have talked about two other writers so far, romantic writers of romanticism, Rousseau and Goethe. And we should talk about Byron and how Byron adds to the story. But that brings us to Byron, Rousseau, and Goethe. These would certainly be the three titans of romanticism. Anybody would put these three. If you asked a panel of 100 people to write down the great geniuses, the great heroes of romanticism, they would put these three, 1, 2, 3. Rousseau would be number one. Maybe Byron 2, maybe Goethe 2, depending on which country. So, there we have the three. Now, what about Byron? First of all, romanticism places a very, very strong emphasis on beauty. It's in everything they write, including Rousseau. And in terms of beauty, there was really no other more beautiful man in the early 19th century, late 18th, than Byron. Everybody who saw him was picking up their chin off of the floor. So he was born beautiful. Well, that's good. If you're a romantic hero, if you're going to be a romantic poet, if you're going to be famous, it's nice if you could be born beautiful, because that'll make you an even greater hero in the world of romanticism. So that's the start. Does everybody get from this picture? Does it come through okay? Because I've done this lecture many times before, and sometimes we have to go get ice and revive some of the women in the room. Then the next thing is he's born noble. He's a born lord. He is an aristocrat. Now that increased the romantic image because, of course, although Romanticism rejected the hierarchies, they secretly loved nobility. Rousseau's friends were all noble and spent all his time out at their beautiful country villas outside of Paris. So that Romanticism actually loved the idea of nobility because they thought that was special. And if you were a special person and you were a special noble, well, that made you even more special. And of course, Byron didn't live like a noble. He lived like a bohemian. His lifestyle, the life he puts together is the life of a rebel bohemian, but who is actually noble. Well, that's the best possible romantic hero that you could imagine. You see, you're gorgeous, you're sexy, you're tall, you're broad-shouldered, you can swim across the Atlantic Ocean, and you're noble. So you're born noble. So that's another thing that was in his favor. Now, the next thing is something nobody could have ever calculated and planned. He had a club foot. He was born with a malformed foot. So here you had this person who was perfect in almost every conceivable way, but with the fatal flaw. That's very good, you see. If you're going to be the perfect romantic hero, you want some kind of a flaw to create the image of the unique person, the special person. And so that was his condition. On top of all the things he had this fatal flaw, which made him extremely self-conscious, which caused him to grow up as an extraordinarily sensitive, self-conscious boy who was really never aware in the beginning that he was beautiful because all he ever thought about was his bad foot. So if he walked into a room, all he was thinking about was the bad foot. And that continued all the way up really for quite a while. It might have been in college that he started to get past it, because what he discovered in college was that in order to compensate for the bad foot, so he couldn't run, he couldn't play rugby, he couldn't play, soccer and all those games, he could swim. And so he became a spectacular swimmer. Well, that's great for exercise, and it builds up a great body. So he was in very great shape. So when he got to Cambridge, he started probably to get past. But the package, beautiful, brilliant, noble, Lord Byron, and the fatal flaw, a genius and a fatal flaw, and all the other things. So Byron really is the perfect embodiment, you see, because he not only wrote great works of Romanticism, he was it. He was it. He lived the life of the great romantic hero. But the thing is, the famous girlfriend, Carolyn Lamb, we're going to meet her in a minute here, said, "Mad, bad, and dangerous to know." Isn't that great? Isn't that great? I mean, it just sums it all up, doesn't it?